Good morning to all, Honorable Chairperson, Sir, distinguished guests, eminent Buddhist scholars, respected staff members, and dear students. I have heard somewhere that even the greatest scholar was once a beginner. So, giving myself that consolation, I try to write this paper with the sole intention to know a little bit about Tsongkhapa, and I also wanted to know why his statue is placed among other Buddhas in some of the Buddhist monasteries. Well, I have been given a 4-line stanza written by J. Tsongkhapa as my seminar topic, which when translated reads something like this. At the beginning of his life, one should study thoroughly. In the middling time of life, reflect on the instruction what is helping. At the end of life, practice the instruction what is helpful and dedicate all the accumulated virtue for the sake of dissemination of truth. So this 4-line stanza beautifully reflects Tsongkhapa's own outlook towards his journey of life, which he undertook in order to gain the ultimate knowledge. So thereafter he contemplated on whatever he learned and ventured on the path towards perfection, following the instructions given by his great masters at the middle of his life. Finally, he unceasingly practiced what he learned, leading many of his followers towards enlightenment, thus contributing towards the revival of Buddhism in Tibet at a time where it was degenerating. Thousands of practitioners attained the ultimate bliss of Buddhahood within one life by following J. Tsongkhapa's example and sincerely practicing his teachings. A closer study of his life and his educational ventures best describe the stanza, although I've titled my paper as Life of Tsongkhapa and his role in the foundation of Gelugpa tradition in Tibet. So I would like to give a brief introduction to the life of Tsongkhapa and the probable reasons why he is considered such an indispensable figure in Tibetan Buddhism to be discussed and revered. I've divided my paper into 5 sections, and the first section being Tsongkhapa's birth and education. During Buddha's time, Tsongkhapa in an earlier incarnation was a small boy who offered a crystal rosary to the Buddha and received a conch shell in return. The Buddha then prophesied that the boy would be born as Sumadikirti or Lobsang Thakpa in Tibet, would found a great monastery in Lhasa, would offer a crown to the statue of Shakyamuni Buddha, and would play a pivotal role in flourishing of Buddhism in Tibet. The Buddha spoke of his coming as an emanation of the Bodhisattva Manjushri in short verse from the root tantra of Manjushri, Jampil Tsagyu, and many centuries later, the lotus-born Guru Padmasambhava too prophesied that a fully ordained monk by the name of Lobsang Thakpa would be born somewhere near China who will be an emanation of Bodhisattva Manjushri. Even before his birth, Tsongkhapa's parents had many unusual dreams, and his future guru, Kadam master Choji Dondru Brinchen, who was a great practitioner of Vajrabhairava, had learned that he would find a disciple who was an emanation of Manjushri. At the time of his birth in a village called Tsongkha in the Amdo province in eastern Tibet, an auspicious star appeared in the sky. Many other miraculous incidents preceded his birth. His father was Dara Khache Lubumge and mother was Shinzache. He was the 4th of their 6 sons. It is believed that when he was born, a drop of blood fell from his umbilical cord, which gave rise to a sandalwood tree. The leaves of that tree bore symbols related to the manifestation of Manjushri. His mother built a statue there on the spot, and this is the same place where Kumbh Monastery was built later by the 3rd Dalai Lama Sonam Gyatso in 1583. When Tsongkhapa was born, Choji Dondru Brinchen, his first future master, sent some relic pills, a protection knot, and a letter to the family. And when the master was invited by the parents, he went with a number of livestock and other gifts for the family and asked his parents to part with their son, to which they delightfully consented. At an age when other children were busy exploring the world around them, Tsongkhapa got busy in taking his holy vows. When he was only 3 years old, he took the layman's vows from 4th Karmapa Rolpe Dorje and was named Kunga Nyingpo. Since his infancy, he showed such unusual traits that it was beyond any common man's imagination. At 7 years of age, he took the novice vows and was given the name Lobsang Thakpa. Even before being ordained, he had entered the mandalas of Heruka, Hevajra, Yamantaka and other deities and was even performing self-initiation meditation upon Heruka. When he reached 16 years of age, he went to the Lhasa Cathedral in central Tibet to offer prayers before the statue of Buddha Shakyamuni so that he could complete all the stages of Sutra and Tantra and could mature and lead other trainees towards enlightenment. And at a young age of 21, he took the vows of a fully ordained monk. After that stage of life, there was no looking back for him, as he had moved on to a quest of unquenchable thirst of knowledge. Tsongkhapa was one of the most eminent Tibetan scholars who went all over Tibet in search of great masters, and it is believed that he learned from more than 50 great teachers during his lifetime in order to gain the ultimate knowledge. Although he lived a very short life of only 62 years as compared to other famous Buddhist scholars like Atisha and Nagarjuna, who are believed to have lived 150 and 600 years respectively, but Tsongkhapa's accomplishments and achievements are indomitable and his teachings are insurmountable. He dedicated his entire life towards learning and teaching of Buddhist texts, meditations, and founding of Buddhist monasteries, which definitely contributed towards the revival of Buddhism in Tibet. Tsongkhapa's first master, Choji Dundub Rinchen, helped him in his lifelong choice of meditational deities, and he asked him to cultivate the Yamantaka, Vajrapani, Manjushri, Amitayus, the three doctrine protectors, Vaishravana, the six-handed Mahakala, and Dharmaraja. He also received from this master numerous tantric empowerments, most importantly that of Vajrabhairava. And when he departed from his master at Tsongkhakang Amdo, Tsongkhapa, with both his hands folded to the prayer mode at his chest, walked backwards away from his teacher. He had at that time tears in his eyes as he had a feeling that he would never be able to return to Amdo. Although his education began at a very young age, but when he went out of Amdo, he met many great Buddhist masters belonging to different traditions, from whom he got teachings on various texts and initiations of different deities. Along with that, he entered meditations and went for long retreats where he had many visions of different deities. His first teacher after leaving Amdo was Chenga Chogi Gelpo, who was the head lama of Dikung Kagyu Monastery in Dikung. From this great master, he got teachings on the altruistic mind Bodhicit and 5 sections of the Great Seal Mahamudra. During his stay there, he also got an opportunity to meet the great doctor Kunchok Khyap, from whom he learned the major medical treatises, and by the age of 17, he had become an excellent doctor. It is said about Tsongkhapa that with many of his teachers, he had lifelong relationship. And one such teacher was the Sakya master Venerable Rendava, who was the chief disciple of Nyapa Kungapal. When Tsongkhapa went to see him at Zechen Utsang to request him to instruct in the perfection of wisdom, his health was falling, due to which he referred Tsongkhapa to Venerable Rendava. Venerable Rendava had innumerable spiritual qualities, besides being a strong proponent of the Prasangika view of Madhyamaka, and later Tsongkhapa regarded him as his principal teacher. Tsongkhapa also composed a verse or a devotional prayer called the Miksema and dedicated it to Rendava, who rededicated it to Tsongkhapa, saying it was more applicable to him. Another Lama, Khenchen Namkha Gyaltsen, when he was 70 years old, had a vision of white goddess who told him that he would meet a man who was an emanation of Manjushri and who was closely linked to Saraswati. When he met Tsongkhapa, he saw him as Manjushri, and Tsongkhapa saw the master as Vajrapani. And when the master gave him teachings on Guru Yoga the evening they met, Tsongkhapa had a vision of Vajrapani. So Tsongkhapa received teachings from many great masters belonging to all the 3 different traditions in Tibet, with Nyingma, Kagyu, and Sakya, irrespective of the different ways of teachings and learning. But his desire to learn was so great that when once he received letters from his family and relatives requesting him to visit them, he decided against going back, as it would oblige him a break from his studies. However, he sent a letter to his mother along with a self-portrait, which when she opened, spoke to her. The second section, major books written by Tsongkhapa. Tsongkhapa was a prolific writer, and his writings contain 18 volumes of text. I'll just read the first 6 books, which are considered the commentaries by Tsongkhapa, and which are the prime sources for the studies of the Gelug tradition. The first book is a great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, Lamrim Chemo. Second, the Essence of Eloquence on the interpretive and definitive teachings, Dangye Lekshen Yingpo. Third, the great exposition of Tantras, Ngagrim Chemo. Fourth, the praise of relativity, Tendil Tupa. Fifth, the clear exposition of the 5 stages of Guya Samaja, Sangdu Rimngas Selgun. And the 6th one, the Golden Rosary, Sirting. So it is generally believed that many of his writings were composed through the instructions given by various deities that he used to visualize, particularly Manjushri. Initially, Tsongkhapa's master, Umapa Pao Dorje, acted as an intermediary between him and Manjushri. But later, when he took a retreat with the master, he could have the visions himself and could communicate directly with Manjushri. Similarly, Nyingma master Namkha Gyaltsen acted as intermediary between Tsongkhapa and Vajrapani. When Tsongkhapa decided to go to India to meet Nagabodhi and the great Mahasiddha Maitripa to get further explanation on middle way theory and the tantric teaching of the illusory body, one of the highest stages in tantric path, Vajrapani advised him against doing so through the medium of this great master. Now here, Lamrim Chenmo, it deserves a special mention here because it is the most famous text written by him and is widely studied today by both ordained people and lay people all over the world. And I would like to read a very short paragraph from the chapter, Mindfulness of Death, as it has helped me distill my doubt about life and death. So Tsongkhapa has written that there are 4 errors that impede your taking full advantage of your life: conceiving the impure to be pure, suffering to be happiness, the impermanent to be permanent, and the selfless to have a self. He says that the conception is twofold, coarse and subtle. Further, he says everyone has the idea that death will come later at the end. However, with each passing day, people think, I'll not die today, I'll not die today, clinging to this thought until the moment of death. If you're obstructed by such an attitude and do not bring its remedy to mind, you will continue to think that you will remain in this life. So therefore, he tells us to be sure to engage in pure behavior by abiding in the teaching, as we cannot escape by fleeing from death, nor can we turn death away by such things as mantras. So the Lamrim Chenmo is based on one of the greatest figures of classical Buddhism, the renowned Bengali master Atisha Dipamkara Sri Gyana's seminal work Bodhipath Pradeep, Lamp for the Path of Enlightenment, in which he extracted from the 84,000 teachings of the Buddha and organized them into clear steps, and which is a short text in 67 verses, and which lays out the entire Buddhist path in terms of the 3 vehicles, Heenyan, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, and became the model for subsequent texts in the genre of Lamrim, the stages of the path. Although I've written Heenyan here, but it is now considered a derogatory term. So rather, we can say Theravada, and it's a kind of Buddhism that still flourishes in Sri Lanka and South Asian countries. So Tsongkhapa wrote Lamrim Chenmo, the great exposition of the stages of the path, as well as many other commentaries in a place called Reting in Tibet, the monastery that had been founded by Dom Tonpa, who was a disciple of Atisha. There he first made entreaties to Atisha and received a vision of all the lineages from the Buddha to his own teachings, which lasted for a period of about 1 month, during which he got a chance to clear his doubts. And finally, all the lineages dissolved into Atisha, Dom Tonpa, Geshe Potowa, and Geshe Sharava, all of whom absorbed into Atisha. Atisha then blessed Tsongkhapa and placed his hands on his head, after which he completed his book as far as the section on penetrative insight. At that point, he had a doubt whether in future his readers would comprehend his teachings or not, when Manjushri appeared and bade him to finish the work and to write a small and medium exposition on the stages of the path. The 8 great doctrine protectors also requested him to continue with this work. So he completed his work at the loin-shaped rock above the monastery in Reting, and Lamrim Chenmo is considered one of the central teachings of Gelug school. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama often says that during his teachings that when he came from Tibet, he had his copy of Lamrim with him. Now the third section concerns Kadampa Buddhism and the foundation of Gelugpa school. Kadampa Buddhism was founded by the great Bengali Buddhist master Atisha. Ka refers to the Buddha's teachings and Dam probably to Atisha's special Lamrim instructions. The lineage passed down through a number of successions of great teachers, including Dom Tonpa, Geshe Potowa, Geshe Sharawa, and Geshe Chekawa, to the great Buddhist master Tsongkhapa. Tsongkhapa is considered the founder of the Gelugpa tradition in Tibet, and the Gelug is the newest and the youngest of all the tradition in Tibetan Buddhism. Earlier, it was called the New Kadam, and the Tsongkhapa school at first was called Gadan Choluk, which means a spiritual lineage of Gadan. Later, by taking the first syllable of Gadan and the second syllable of Choluk, the name became Galuk, which later was modified and came to be known as Gelug, as it was easy to pronounce. So Tsongkhapa merged the Kadam teachings of Lojong mind training and Lamrim stages of the path with Sakya Tantra teachings. The 3 important topics for the Kadampa tradition are the Lamrim, Vajrayana practice, and the Vinay. So the Lamrim practitioners begin with a desire to seek a good rebirth, and then moves to seeming liberation for oneself, Shravak motivation, and then to seeking Buddhahood so as to aid the liberation of others, Mahayana motivation, further adding Vajrayana methods to aid in the speedy attainment of Buddhahood. Second, Vajrayana practice. The tantric practices of the Gelug are also integrated into stages of the path model by Tsongkhapa's the great exposition of secret mantra. So this is combined with the yogas of Anuttara Yoga, Tantra, Ishta Devta, such as the Guhya Samaja, Chakra Samvara, Yamantaka and Kala Chakra Tantras, where the key focus is a direct experience of the indivisible union of bliss and emptiness. And the highest view of emptiness is considered to be the Prasangika Madhyamaka of Chandakirti as interpreted by Tsongkhapa. The Guhya Samaja Tantra is the principal one. As the Dalai Lama remarks, there is a saying in the Gelug, if one is on the move, it is Guhya Samaja. If one is still, it is Guhya Samaja. If one is meditating, it should be upon Guhya Samaja. Therefore, whether one is engaged in study or practice, Guhya Samaja should be one's focus. So Guhya Samaja teaching on illusory body is one of the most difficult parts of Tantra, and complete understanding of this ensures the attainment of Buddhahood in one lifetime. So according to one tradition, the Guhya Samaja Tantra was taught for the first time by the Buddha in the form of Vajradhar to Indrabhuti, the king of Odiyana, also called King Za. And the third, Vinay, it is a regulatory framework for the monastic community of Buddhists. The Gelug tradition focuses on ethics and monastic discipline of Vinay as the fundamental point of spiritual practice. So this is the only school of Vajrayana Buddhism that prescribes monastic ordination as a necessary qualification and basis in its teachers. Gelugpa's scholastic study is based on the manifestations and study of key text as well as formal debate. The primary topics and text used in study are: first, monastic discipline, Dulba Vinay, Vinay Sutra by Guna Prabha. Second, epistemology, Sadma Pramana, which is based on Dharmakirti's Praman Vartika, a commentary on Dignag's compendium of valid cognition. Third, Abhidharma, Vasubandhu's Abhidharma Kosha. Fourth, Madhyamaka, Chandakirti's Madhyamaka Avtara. And fifth is Pragya Paramita, Maitriya's Abhisamya Alankara. Now regarding the Gelugpa seats, the main Gelugpa monastery is the Gadan monastery, which was founded in 1409, and Gadan means Tushita in Sanskrit, the pure land associated with Maitri Buddha. The monastery was divided into two colleges, Shartse and Jangse. Among other Gelugpa monasteries, Depung Monastery was founded by Jamyang Chuje Tashipaldan in 1416. Earlier it had 7 branches, but later they combined into 4, Losaling, Deyang, Gomang and Ngakpa. Sera Monastery was founded by Jamchen Chuje Shakyaishe in 1419. It had earlier 5 colleges, but later were combined into 2, Sera J and Sera Me. Tashi Lunpo Monastery was founded by Gelwa Gedun Dup, the first Dalai Lama, in 1447, which later became the seat of successive Panchen Lamas. There were 2 Gelug Tantric colleges to Gyume. The lower was founded by J. Shirap Singh in 1440, and Gyute, the upper, was founded by Gyuchen Kunga Dundup in 1474. The Gelugpa lineage is still held by the Gadan Tippas, the throne holders of Gadan Monastery, among whom the present holder is Gadan Tippa, Kyabji Jizun Lobsang Tenzin Pel Sangpo, the 104th Gadan Tippa, and we also have the privilege to have him here in person this year during the inauguration day of the present seminar. Now, the 4th section concerns his 4 major deeds. In Xingjili, first, when Tsongkhapa and his disciples saw a statue of Maitri in a dilapidated condition, they took upon themselves to repair it. They sold all their possessions and made offerings to Vaishravana, the wealth deity, and lit a butter lamp. This work upon Maitri's statue was the first of his major deeds. Second, when Tsongkhapa was invited along with Rendawa and Kyabchok Pelsang to Namse Deng, a monastery of 600 monks, they spent the rainy season retreat with their host as sponsor, and where Tsongkhapa gave an elaborate discourse on the discipline so lucidly that it is regarded as second of his 4 greatest deeds, and there he also gave teachings on Praman and Middle Way. Third, in 1409, when Tsongkhapa was 52 years old, 8,000 monks assembled for the first great prayer festival, where an innermost offering ceremony commenced at midnight, and during which Tsongkhapa offered a crown of fine gold to the statue of Shakyamuni Buddha, which he consecrated, thus fulfilling the Buddha's prophecy. This was third of his major deeds, and by offering the crown to the statue was transformed from being a Nirmankaya representation of the Buddha Shakyamuni to one representing his Sambhogakaya manifestation. And the 4th deed is, in 1417, the artists and sculptors congregated at the Gandan to make a statue of Buddha Shakyamuni, and there they were assigned to make gilded copper 3-dimensional mandalas relating to the 32 deity Guhya Samaja, the 62 deity Heruka, and 13 deity Yamantika practices. So during their fabrications, miraculous manifestations occurred, and incandescent symbols of various deities possessing an inherent sheen and luster came forth from the molds, and were often surrounded by rainbow light. The consecration ceremonies were performed, thus completing the construction of Gadan's main hall and the various figures contained therein. So this is held to be the fourth of Tsongkhapa's major deeds. And my last section concerns his death and the reason for celebrating Gadan Ngabcho. So Tsongkhapa passed away in the year 1419 at Gadan Monastery. It is believed that he attained enlightenment during the death process through yogic practices attaining the illusory body. When he breathed his last breath, his body regained the vibrancy of a 16-year-old taken on the generally depicted appearance of the youthful Manjushri. So many disciples present witnessed the emission of variegated light rays from his body, which substantiates the belief that Tsongkhapa entered the intermediate states as enlightened being, and his body was entombed inside a jeweled stupa at Gadan. And many saw a rain of flowers descend from the sky during the 49 days after his death. His death is commemorated with the annual festival of Gadan Ngabcho, which translates as the Gadan offering of the 25th, which is celebrated on 25th of the 10th month every year, and during which the devotees light butter lamps on their roofs and windowsills. And this year is commemorated as the 600th death anniversary of Tsongkhapa, and it has also found its way into today's national seminar topic. With this, I would like to conclude. Thank you very much.